try something new, sort of. I like, looking at like Newsmax and other far right, outlets and kind of tearing apart their narratives. But Newsmax streams live 24/7. So I thought I would do kind of in the Sam Cedar tradition, like he used to. What's that piece of shit who just died? Rush Limbaugh? Yeah, that piece of shit. Sam Cedar used to do this like thing where he'd pop in and he'd listen to like 90 seconds of Rush and then do 3 minutes of ripping apart the 90 seconds of Rush that he listened to. So I'm not going to constrict myself to only watching that much of Newsmax and then only allowing myself so much time to retort, but we're going to just kind of drop in cold on the live Newsmax stream, see what they got going on, and point out just how seriously fucking full of shit they are and how dangerous their toxic fascist propaganda narratives really are. Word salad from Albuquerque. So what's going on with the video now is this is the Newsmax live stream. So they play ads, of course. And they even do, this is, who knows what this is. But this is them live right now. We'll listen to a little more word salad. And then we'll listen to Newsmax spew word salad. And like I said, I'm just going to see what they're talking about and do my best to sort of deconstruct it, right? I hate that we're showing whatever they're advertising for, because fuck anybody that wants to advertise on Newsmax, right? Since there's still ads jumping, I got another word salad 7-inch. Thought I didn't. is a split with Scared of Chaka, both Albuquerque bands. Okay, so they've come in on
the assassinations of John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, and Martin Luther King Jr. all resonated with Americans. Both President Reagan and his press secretary, James Brady, would survive the assassin's bullet and continue on their journey to change America. During the presidential campaign, Reagan promised to select the first woman to the Supreme Court. He fulfilled his campaign commitment by selecting Sandra Day O'Connor. Judge O'Connor would remain on the court for over 30 years until she retired during the Bush presidency with distinction. Ronald Reagan was committed to bringing down the Soviet Union and communism, not through war, but by an explosion of ideas and choices.
As I speak to you tonight, the fate of
an explosion of ideas
hangs in the balance. For 1,000 years, Christmas has been celebrated in Poland, a land of deep religious faith. But this Christmas brings little joy to the courageous Polish people. They have been betrayed by their own government. The men who rule them and their totalitarian allies fear the very freedom that the Polish people cherish. They have answered the stirrings of liberty with brute force, killings, mass arrests, and the setting up of concentration camps. Lech Walesa and other Solidarity leaders are imprisoned, their fate unknown. Factories, mines, universities, and homes have been assaulted. The Polish government has trampled underfoot solemn commitments to the UN Charter and the Helsinki Accords. It has even broken the Gdansk Agreement of August 1980. But if the forces of tyranny in Poland and those who incite them from without do not relent, they should prepare themselves for serious consequences. Already, throughout the free world, citizens have publicly demonstrated their support for the Polish people. Our government and those of our allies have expressed moral revulsion at the police state tactics of Poland's oppressors. The church has also spoken out in spite of threats and intimidation.
Fuck the Catholic Church.
Reagan looked to the solidarity movements to help liberate Poland and the Eastern Bloc. His partner in this enterprise was to be Pope John Paul II, the first Polish pope. Pope John Paul II came to power in 1979 and saw the liberation of his homeland as a divine cause. In Ronald Reagan, the Pope had a spiritual and ideological ally. Theirs was a close friendship and a formidable partnership.
They hated communism and leftism, and that's it. That's all they had in common. The Catholic Church totally backed Mussolini and backed fucking Hitler.
Their rallying cry was, "For our freedom and yours." Well, that motto still rings true in our time. There is a spirit of solidarity abroad in the world tonight that no physical force can crush.
So is this just some fucking full-on
Men and women everywhere.
pro-Reagan documentary propaganda that they're running? Because, I mean, all I see here on just a cold drop on what they got happening and what they're live streaming here is, you know, an idealization or you know, a sort of false, it's like rewriting the history of who Reagan was, that him and the Pope had some type of spiritual connection. No, they didn't. It was a traditionally anti-leftist, anti-communist, anti-revolutionary, socialist position. This was in keeping with Gladio and COINTELPRO that predated and set the stage for the Reagan administration. And I'm not an expert on the relationship between Poland and the USSR at the time. I was very young. I was a child during this time and not paying attention to it at all. But what you see is Newsmax provides no context for that. Just look at this, you know, they're deifying him is the word I was looking for earlier. You know, oh, this great anti-communist warrior who had plans and ideas and new strategies of what? And that anyone from the Reagan administration or a Western pro-capitalist fucking perspective has any room to speak about atrocities and police states and imprisoning people. You know, and it's so apparently that's what's going on here. This is just a full-on we're going to worship at the altar of Reagan and show why he was so great because he was such an anti-communist, you know, crusader for good and religion and God and whatever. Racist piece of shit that he was. This is what Newsmax is showing their viewers. How many people are watching this? 2,000 people are watching this right now. 1,982 people are watching this right now, or 1,994. What about all the people that starved and died under the Reagan administration? What about the Iran-Contra affair? What about all the fucking oppression and brutalization of poor and working class struggling people from the global south under the Reagan administration? And what the fuck does Reagan care about Poland? Oh, he can use it to foment U.S. imperialist military action all over the globe, and conveniently fearmonger and demonize the emancipation of poor and working class people, which is what revolutionary leftism does. So, I mean, it's not that it's any secret, but Newsmax is just a propaganda outlet. This provides you no context for what the real struggles were at the time. Reagan, I mean, they stated that his goal was to defeat communism. And that's why we have to understand, you know, when all these fucking right-wingers today talk about, well, when has it ever worked? You know, when has socialism ever worked or communism? it's going to work once capitalism and the people who fucking maintain the imperialist status quo version of it, like this piece of shit Reagan did, when they're eliminated, then the emancipation and the freedom and equality of all humanity will be equalized and made manifest. But the reason the various socialist projects, quote unquote, haven't worked, which many of them have. They have put halts and emancipated some people from some of the oppression of capitalism along the way. And with each one of these flurries of revolutionary fucking success, whether it's lasting or not, enables the next one and makes us better and more knowledgeable and adept revolutionaries, right? But when they point to the right wing, when they point to and say, this is, it didn't work, it collapsed, it's because all the weight and power and mechanisms of the West and the capitalist imperialist status quo in the West were brought to bear on that revolutionary leftist project of the Soviets. They had their faults. There's many, many things that went under the Soviet regime that were astoundingly disgusting, okay? But they are also, you can't decouple that from the fact that they were, without question, under constant and immense threat from the entire weight and power of the West, of the capitalist imperialist West, right? And I guess this is what Newsmax does on a Sunday afternoon, is just reminds people of the garbage, lies, and propaganda they pushed in the 80s. The things that facilitated Reagan. Reagan was brought to power by demonizing and scapegoating black people and dog whistling. And, he kicked off his campaign in his 1980 campaign in the city in Mississippi, I forget the name, but where, if you see the movie Mississippi Burning, where civil rights activists, black civil rights activists, three civil rights activists, one of them was black, two of them were white, I believe, were murdered by the Klan, assisted by the local law enforcement. And that was the only thing in history that brought prominence to this community in Mississippi. And that's where Reagan kicked off his campaign. Sort of like when Trump kicked off his campaign by calling Mexicans rapists and criminals, which was, not a dog whistle, it was a blaring tuba horn to the racists in America. Reagan's version of that was to kick off his campaign in that community in Mississippi. So they don't tell you that history, right? They just want to, and also coming to, he facilitated by that type of bullhorn to the racist community, as well as perpetuating and full-on deep-throated announcing anti-communist rhetoric that had been nurtured and built over time and grown over time, dating back essentially from the 40s and 50s and under the John Birch Society, tying the civil rights movement dishonestly to some type of outside influence from Marxists like Mao or the Soviets that supposedly causing these people in the civil rights era like Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or even the Panthers to, do what they did, as opposed to it being, again, of their own volition in the search for emancipation from the bonds of Western imperialist capitalism and to realize their own actual real-time equality. That's how Reagan came to power, though, was those bullhorns, the letting the people on the far right in America know that, hey, I'm here in Mississippi letting you know how much I dig all that hardcore racist shit that happened there, and the racist murder that happened there and stuff. And check it out, all the stuff that like the John Birch Society and the Klan and everything has been telling you about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X for decades. Yeah, I'm with that too. So we're just going to hate on the Soviets and, you know, that was Reagan. I didn't hear Newsmax letting you know, or at least give you that perspective on it, from which you could draw your own conclusions about what Reagan's legacy and contribution to the country was, right? No. He's this glorious guy who had a religious connection to the Pope and freed the world from the evils of, so-called evils of communism. It's fucking ridiculous.
What kind of garbage is that? Oops, my anarchy symbol.
So most of these people, honestly, are just imperfect neo-futurist, pop quasi-mentalism, escapism, postmodernist identity regression, as anti-empirical misinterpretations of nihilism.
Slow down.
What's that?
Slow down so they can catch every word. Now say that again.
I'm talking about the imperfect neo-futurist, pop quasi-mentalism, or the escapisms of postmodernist identity regression, as anti-empirical misinterpretations of nihilism with regard to deconstructivist biomechanomorphism, or understanding the quadriversal superstring paradox, free-feeding Big Bang sentimentalities, the farce of neural network simulation, the ignominy of contemporary procedural analysis, and the recalcitrance of systematic deliberation with regard to the phenomenology of integrated microcircuitry and electronic transmissions of encrypted information, or sustaining the art of perspective as illusion through a meditated observation of universal dynamism, preferential acceptances or dismissals of established objectifications of innate structures and meanings, an extensive and intimate exploration of the vast complexities of self-environment, an unmitigated categorization of impulses and experiences which are both intrinsic and apparently unique to sentient creatures.
Hang on one sec.
It's an inherent and impassioned proclivity to the efficacious presentation of expressible knowledge and communication, a deterministically conscious propensity to the semi-congruous attainment of emotional maturity and psychological awareness, stability, and preservation, with a persistent inclination to the heightened sensibilities of a detachedly informant entity. And a comprehensive recognition of instinctual and cognitive behaviors and of the significances and necessities thereof, with a formal examination of order, the biophysical and neurophysiological constituents of living organisms, their interrelational associations with respect to stimuli, conditions.
Here's how to help build strong bodies 8 ways.
Wonder Bread. You want to go bigger and stronger, don't you?
Golly, sure.
Okay. A sandwich daily and 2 slices of Wonder Bread every meal give you 8 elements you need. As much muscle-building protein as roast beef.
The Mummy.
As much calcium for bones and teeth as cottage cheese. As much phosphorus for cell metabolism as this egg. As much iron for red blood as 3 lamb chops. As much vitamin B1 for appetite as fried liver. As much vitamin B2 for growth as this much cheese. As much niacin for mental health as 6 sardines. As much energy as 2 glasses of milk.